Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of Angler Creek. Today we're going to be continuing with this section of farmlands that we have right outside of the suburbs of our main town. This farm has a really cool abandoned barn build and some interesting landscaping with a little pond and some walking trails in the woods. One thing I wanted to talk about in this episode right off the bat is that we will be naming our towns. As I've talked about in previous episodes, we're going to have multiple small towns in this region of Angler Creek, and we'll be starting on a new town center very soon. With that being said, I'd like to hear some suggestions on what we could call our initial town here that we've built. I'd like to try to have some of you all help name the towns around here and instead of me just naming them myself. So if you have any ideas or suggestions, I'd love to hear them. This little plot of land here is actually loosely inspired by my grandfather's land. The structure of it is completely different and the buildings don't look the same, but my grandfather has a little bit of land in rural Texas. It's in a hilly area with a fairly large creek running through it. It's got a medium-sized pond, which you can actually fish out of if you wanted to, and an abandoned barn building off near the woods. So the elements of this build are inspired based off of some of the features of that land, though the structure is completely different. I thought it'd be nice here to create a little vegetable/flower garden here in the back of this house. Just lowering some bushes into the ground to make it seem more like vegetables that are growing in the ground. I'm adding a couple little tool sheds and some extra props around here to really sell the build. You may have already noticed this episode is a bit shorter than the rest. I'm trying to condense this down because we still have one more farm to build before getting to work on our next town. I plan to take a lot more time and consideration in building this next town center. I want to continue with the theme of keeping the builds small and packing as much detail as possible in them. I almost want it to be detailed enough to where you can walk around with the first person mod and the fidelity will still hold up close. Recently, I've been learning how to add custom decals and surfaces into the game. I'm still in the early stages, but in the next few weeks I might be showcasing off some new decal packs here on the channel. I know some of you that are watching have also been active in the Cities Skylines modding Discord and have been helping me out with that. I've been really loving my time on the modding Discord and interacting more with the community in this game. The community has been extremely helpful and welcoming, so I hope to continue working on those projects and hopefully I can release some packs that are helpful to other players. For now, it's all in very early stages though, so I don't want to talk too much specifics on the channel yet. Right now, we're just getting started on the shop building here. You might notice in this episode and also in the next episode, if you tune into that the structure of these farms is kind of formulaic. Usually a house, a shop building, some sort of barn, and some fields. I don't mind it being similar in structure because that's just kind of how these farms look in real life. Some things are formulaic in real life, so when you build them in Cities Skylines, it's going to naturally be the same. With that being said, I really think each farm has a unique look and vibe to it, and I wanted to make sure that they all have their own identity. This one has kind of a overgrown, heavy nature look to it. The last episode's farm kind of felt like the quintessential Pinterest red farmhouse, and the next farm has a lot more of a busy industrial look to it. So even though we're building farms for 3 episodes in a row, they all have their own character and identity which sets them apart. And let me tell you, when they all come together, this area of farmland is looking really nice and cozy, which is the perfect transition away from our suburbs and into our next town center. When I think about making transitions in Cities Skylines, I like to think in terms of gradients. You'll have the middle of town with the tallest buildings. Surrounding that, you'll have some row houses and 2-story buildings. Then you'll get some inner city suburbs where they'll be single family, but the houses will be more tightly packed in. Then you move out to the true suburbs where you have large houses and large lawns separating them. After that, you transition to the farmlands with huge sprawling fields and plenty of space to breathe. That's the fabric that I wanted to sew all through this region. Multiple small towns, all interwoven with natural gradients that will hopefully create a rich and interesting environment. I want to be able to look at a certain house or a certain area and be able to imagine the stories of the people who live there, shop there, and work there. I want the environment itself to tell the story of the culture and the people who reside in it. Because, in my opinion, that really is the heart of city building. At the end of the day, cities are made by people, for people. And so if you don't consider the human element to a build, you end up with something that feels lifeless or robotic. That's what got me into watching Cities Skylines videos, playing the game, and eventually making videos of my own. So when I'm building these houses and placing individual props, I'm trying to envision the people and stories behind them, not just placing something down because it looks right there. It looks like maybe that could be something that could be at a house. I'm trying to imagine who lives here, who they are, what sort of qualities do they have. So it's not just I'm placing a dirt patch here. It's why would there be a dirt patch here? Would this be an area a lot of people would walk in, or is it an area that's less maintained? Maybe less sunlight would shine down into this area, so naturally large bushes and trees would grow here instead of shorter grass. There's lots of questions that I'm asking myself whenever I'm making these builds. For now though, I'm just going to leave you with some music while I build out the rest of this farmland, and I'll be back for some key points. That's going to be it for today's episode though. It's a shorter one, but I'll be releasing the next episode soon to make up for it. As always, let me know how I did. Let me know if you have any suggestions. I'm excited to see what sort of ideas you all will have for the name of our first town, so if you have any ideas, definitely put them down in the comments. If you liked the video, I would appreciate a like, and if you want to see more, consider subscribing. I'll see you all in the next one.